Talking point. Ooh, okay.
Where your willy goes.
Where does your willy go? No, next talking point is talking about buying used Xeons. Are Xeons still worth it for gaming? What Xeon
Short
should you
answer,
go with?
no. That's it. End of
No,
discussion.
no Xeons. But the main thing I want to talk about is which Xeons are actually worth it. I know a few years ago, the really popular ones were like those X3430, 3440s, which are like $6 or $7. Those nowadays, you probably don't really want to get unless you can actually find a motherboard. The main issue with those older Xeons is finding motherboards that actually allow you to overclock them, because if you don't overclock them, they're worse than just like a traditional 2400 or just second gen, third gen i5. So finding the right motherboard makes sense, but the ones that we really liked are the ones in these workstations now that are X99 based, and the ones you can buy off AliExpress.
Those are typically non-overclockable, but you don't need to overclock them.
No.
So anything that comes in like the generic pre-built, like the Dell or HP, which they call them workstations, those ones are definitely not going to be overclockable because they're on just base stock OEM boards. But on the bright side, though, like that build we just did that had the 2620 V3, or you can get one with the 1650 V3. So one's a 4-core 8-thread, one's a 6-core 12-thread. Usually with Xeons, by the way, guys, the more cores you get, the lower the clock speed. So for gaming, it's almost better to go with the one with less cores. But if you do the research on it, the 1650 V3 is actually on par with a Ryzen 1600 or 1600 AF even. So for how cheap you can get a whole workstation like that, it's a pretty good deal. We had those on our site as well, and that is an HP Z440 workstation with the 1650 and a 1060, and that performs just like a new Ryzen 1600 with a 1060 gaming PC.
Yeah, and those Xeons are worth getting. AliExpress, we've done a lot of AliExpress builds. There's a lot of combos you can buy with those, like
The Artemiter.
yeah, the Artemiter, those like recycled chipsets boards, which basically take older motherboards that have died, taking the chipsets and they just rebuild them. And those are still decent. They're not the greatest thing in the world, but you can get 6-core Xeons. You can get 12-core 24-threaded Xeons. We did one of those, and we can't do this now, but we actually did one for like $500 with like 12 cores and 24 threads in an RX 580. You can do those. AliExpress is banned here. It's banned in India. That's interesting. I didn't know that would be a thing. That's really weird.
Why is it banned?
Yeah, but
how?
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But like, just to recap, Xeons are worth it. It just depends which ones you're going for.
Alibaba's banned too. Wow.
Wow. So why is that? I'm curious.